Hey there, Mary Kay sisters and brothers. This is one of 3 videos that I plan on recording for each of you. Many of you have requested different types of information, some of it being my eye story, from to how I achieved the throne this seminar year, and others have requested information on how is it that we recruit men. So today's video is going to talk about me, my eye story, and how I became a part of Mary Kay. And you know, it's a long story, but usually most stories worth hearing have a history. In 2001, I was a full-time flight attendant with United Airlines. It was my little boy dream, was to travel the world and fly airplanes. But unfortunately, because of bad eyesight, I was unable to fulfill that portion of my dream. So the second option was to go to the back of the bus, as I call it, and become a flight attendant. And I had an amazing tenure with the company. I was actually with Eastern Airlines, and then when they went out of business, and was blessed to be picked up immediately by United Airlines, where I spent almost 20 years. And you know, I was living the life of royalty. I mean, really, traveling the world, making a decent income. For my age, I was making more money than most people that are in their 40s and 50s. Because I had started so young, I was making a decent wage at a very young age. And so I was very happy and blessed to be traveling the world and meeting famous people, meeting not so famous people, learning a lot about different cultures and just the world in general. And it was just amazing. And one of the things I so vividly remember is the moment that I realized that I had grown as a person by traveling the world. And that was when I came home from Los Angeles to visit friends and family here in Detroit. And I'll never forget going out to dinner with a group of friends that I had grown up with and gone to high school with. And the funny thing was that there was nothing in common anymore. You know, they were still talking about the same things that they talked about, you know, many years, you know, in the past. Where I myself had moved to Los Angeles and had, you know, obviously traveled the world, had experienced different cultures, and had a vast difference of opinion and knowledge base on what I had personally firsthand witnessed, and just traveling itself and meeting the different types of people truly made me learn and grow as a person. And I truly, with all my heart, planned on retiring at 85 years old from the airline industry, but God had another plan. The best way I can describe my journey in Mary Kay is that my life started out as a perfect snow globe. And for those of you that are familiar with what a snow globe is, great. For those of you that don't know what a snow globe is, it's those beautiful crystal balls that have a nice scene on the inside. And when you shake them, what happens? The snow goes everywhere. It's a beautiful picture. Well, I described my life as a snowball, or snow globe, excuse me. And I had the perfect job, and I was making a great living, and I spent money like a rock star. And so what I ended up doing was taking on a part-time job, 3 to 4 days a week here in Detroit, and I was commuting between Detroit and Los Angeles. Now, take that. I would fly out of Detroit on Wednesday and fly Thursday, Friday, Saturday, do the red eye back home to Detroit on Sunday, and attend school on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then Wednesday evening I would fly back out to Los Angeles. I did this for about 4 years, week in and week out. Many people say, where did you get the energy to do that? Well, you know, when you're young and you don't know anything else, you just do what you need to do to get the job done. So for 4 years I commuted between Detroit and Los Angeles while going to while finishing my undergraduate degree. And at that point I was approached by one of the school administrators asking me that if I would be interested in taking on a position on a part-time basis in the Student Services Department. And this department basically involved meeting with the students, going over their curriculum, helping them select the classes for graduation, doing graduation audits, and so forth. And again, it was something that I loved because I knew I was helping people get towards their goal, whatever that goal may be. So, I had that job, I want to say, for probably about 3, maybe 4 years. And in the journey of that happening, my coworker, who was, her department, I guess, was buildings and grounds, is what they called it, and she was the professional landscaper for the university, had approached me in my office one day just to say hi and introduce herself, and she told me what she did at the school, and that she also had a part-time business, and she was a Mary Kay consultant. And immediately she had noticed my face and noticed that I had some flaking in my brow area and around here, my nose area. And so I said, thanks for pointing that out. He goes, nothing worse, I think, for a man is to have a woman, of all people, point out a flaw. And nobody else had ever said anything to me, but, it really hit home, and she said that. Well, anyway, she said to me, have you ever tried Mary Kay products? And I looked at her, and I said, first of all, I tried every brand out there, Cundiff, Lancome, Estee Lauder, Lab Series for Men, the list goes on, and nothing had worked. I had even used high-end brands like Shiseido and some of the others. I can't even remember the names, but nothing seemed to work. Now keep in mind I was commuting between Detroit and Los Angeles, and I was flying strictly international flights. And I was flying a lot of Chicago, Hong Kong as well. And so what would happen is I would fly in to Chicago and position for the trip, and then it was 16 hours and 55 minutes from takeoff to landing nonstop, one way. Well, you can only imagine what that does to one's, not only their body clock, but their skin and everything else. I mean, you're sleeping when you should be awake, and you're awake when you should be sleeping, and you're eating when you should be sleeping, and so your body just kind of goes crazy. So anyway, Cindy had said again, well, would you consider trying Mary Kay? And I said, you know what, I just can't see a product designed for little blue-haired ladies, working for me when I tried the best of the best. I mean, I truly have tried everything. And she said, well, guess what? You haven't tried everything if you haven't tried Mary Kay. Well, she was right. So she gave me some samples of the Time-Wise Miracle Set, and I had tried them, and believe it or not, the product worked. Not only did it work, but I started to have people approach me after a 16-hour and 55-minute flight and say to me, good Lord, Jim, what are you using on your skin? You look amazing. You look rested. Your skin looks great, and here we're falling apart at the seams. And I told them, and that was pretty much the end of that story. So I had run out of the samples, and so I had approached Cindy when I went back to work, and I told her that I would like to purchase, the Miracle Set. And she said, you know what, I've got an offer for you that you might not want to refuse. And that offer was basically for me to take some books to work. Now at the time, being a flight attendant, I had a population of 26,000 flight attendants that worked in that department alone. And so that particular week I was flying to Frankfurt, Germany, not Hong Kong. And she said, would you terribly mind just passing out some books and just see if you can give me some orders? I'm trying to earn my car and, and build my customer base. Well, I said, absolutely, Cindy, I'll do anything I can to help you. I said, but just, if they ask me anything, I don't know the difference between a lip liner and an eyeliner, so it's going to be really critical that, I don't need to know anything because I can't sell it. I just don't know about makeup. She goes, don't worry about it, the catalog explains everything. So, in the airline industry, before the crew gets onto the airplane, there is what they call a briefing, and that's where the whole crew gets together and they talk about the trip, who's going to work what position, do what, so on and so forth, go over safety and security issues, and that's kind of, in a nutshell. And at that point, I just made an announcement to the crew, and I said, hey ladies, listen, a girlfriend of mine is a Mary Kay consultant. She's trying to build her business. She's given me some books to pass out to all of you. If you have an interest in purchasing anything, you know what? You're welcome to. Don't feel any pressure. But there is a sales ticket inside of each one of these, so whatever you want, just write it down. And taxes at the time I think was like 5%, 6% in Michigan. And I'll get it to you. I don't know how, but we'll figure it out. And one thing unique about the flight attendant industry is that you bond very quickly, relationships are developed, and it is it's like a brother or sisterhood that I've never experienced until I joined Mary Kay. So anyway, at the end of that trip, we were delayed, and I was running behind because of the fact that I did commute from one city to the next. I had to fly home, and I had 20 minutes to make my connection from the time the last passenger got off the plane. So these flight attendants are throwing me these lookbooks and their orders, and I am like just shoving them in my bag. I have no idea, on what I sold, if I had sold anything for her or not. So anyhow, we get back to Detroit. Cindy calls me. We get together. We have lunch, and she starts to calculate, what was sold. And as men, we kind of walk like this. We don't look like this. It's like what's in front of us, and we don't pick up hints real easily. So with that being said, she calculated the sales, and she looked at me dead in the eye, and she said, "Now, Jim, just so that you know, you sold just shy of $1,000." And I thought, I got a new best friend, and she's buying me breakfast. So anyway, really, again, men, we look straight ahead. We're not reading between the lines. And I said, great, Continue to eat my omelet, I believe I was eating that day. Not that that really matters. But anyway, as I was eating, Cindy said to me, she says, "You know what, Jim?" She goes, "In Mary Kay, we buy for $1, we sell for $2. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put almost $500 in my pocket, and then you are going to deliver these orders, because I'm going to order the product with this other almost $500. And thank you for helping. Here's your free product. Or you can sign here and become a beauty consultant yourself. These can be your customers. You can put this money in your pocket. And, bottom line is that you'll be able to at least get your products at cost." And I was like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what I was going to do, because I was working a full-time job, working a part-time job, I was commuting, I was going to school. Why not take on one more thing? So I became a beauty consultant that day. If I'm not mistaken, it was April 2nd of 2001. And I prayed to God when that starter kit showed up that my neighbors weren't looking, because it was a big old pink box that said Mary Kay on it, and I didn't want anybody to know that I was selling Mary Kay. So that box literally went from my front door to the spare bedroom closet, and that was it. And I figured that if anybody that I had worked with wanted stuff, I would order it, and I might place an order once a year to get my own stuff, but outside of that, that was pretty much it. So then we fast forward a little bit, but before I do the fast forwarding, I just want to share with you something that I had shared with my parents many years ago, because I was very blessed to have two amazing parents. My mother was a stay-at-home mom, always believed in her children. If I said I wanted to be a rocket scientist, great. She believed in me. If I said I wanted to be a brain surgeon, another week. She never discouraged me. She always encouraged me. My stepfather, who was the most amazing stepfather I think one could ask for, was equally as supportive in anything that I wanted to do. So at the age of 16, I wanted to own my own business. And at the time, I was very much into ceramics. And I wanted to own my own ceramics store. Now, I had worked out of the house doing this as a hobby, but the hobby then became something that I became very passionate about and wanted to share with others. Because I knew that using art was a great outlet to express not only one's internal emotions and feelings, but it was something that people could pass on to their family members for years and years to come, and kind of like a legacy thing, or a family heirloom. So at 16 years old, parents basically put the house on the block, and they decided that they were going to allow me at 16 to become a business owner of a storefront business. And I don't remember the exact date, but we did open a ceramic shop. It was called Jan and Jim's Ceramics, and we were in business for 2 years. And then I decided that I wanted to close the business and go on and pursue my little boy dream, which was to fly airplanes. So we know what happened there. So throughout my journey, having two great parents, I had always promised them that they would never, ever in a million years see a nursing home, because I had seen and witnessed what my parents and grandparents had gone through, I should say, when they were placed in nursing homes. And it's not the best situation, and I saw the guilt that they felt when they had to do those things. And so I made this promise to both my mom and my dad that I would do everything under the sun to make sure that that never happened. Well, I made that promise, and years had gone by, and I'm now currently working 2 jobs, and now I'm a Mary Kay consultant. And shortly thereafter, my mother had a massive stroke, and my stepfather was diagnosed with prostate cancer stage 4. And all of a sudden, I thought, how in God's green earth am I going to be able to fulfill my promise to Mom and Dad when I'm on the road 22 days a month? On top of that, I'm commuting back and forth. So stress was really intense at that time. And so then I thought, okay, I'll make this happen. I don't know how, but I'll figure it out, because I've always been the type of person that if there is a way, I'll figure it out. Well, then, to make matters even worse, for those of you that were alive on 9/11, well, remember the day. And that day not only changed the lives of everybody in our country, but for those of us that worked for United Airlines or had family members that were on that flight, or those flights, I should say, it changed our lives forever. That morning, I was on my way to Chicago to attend a training session, which ultimately, due to the circumstances, was canceled. But that morning, I had 5 of my closest and dearest friends killed. It was one of the most life-altering experiences I had ever experienced. And what I mean by that is that I think as human beings, we are conditioned to deal with loss. You know, on a one-on-one basis, you might say, you know, if somebody passes away here, 2 years go by, somebody else. But to lose 5 people in a split second to terrorism is pretty scary. That's all I can say. And the company did not release the names to even the employees, and they didn't release the names because of the fact that they wanted to make sure that the families were advised first. Well, unfortunately, as media is, the names were released on CNN the morning I was home in Detroit, patiently waiting to find out who was on those particular flights. And I will never forget the day as CNN started we turned it on, and the names started to scroll across the bottom of the screen. And I don't know if it was alphabetical, if it was random, it doesn't matter, but all I remember were seeing people that I knew, and people that I loved and cared about and had worked with for many years. And I literally had a nervous breakdown in my kitchen on that morning. And now I'm faced with another challenge. I've got 2 sick parents. I no longer want to go to work because I am fearful for my life. I'm grieving for the loss of 5 friends. My company had been attacked, and the country had been attacked, and I did not know what to do at that point. So I prayed, got myself better, and United had offered a voluntary furlough. I had done everything under the sun at that point to look for another job on the ground that could pay me what I was making at United. Well, after 9/11, gang, I'll be honest with you, I could not find a job flipping burgers, and I'm not too proud to do that if that's what I needed to do. So my recruiter, Cindy, had approached me, and she said, you know, have you ever thought about doing Mary Kay on a full-time basis? And I looked at her and I said, Cindy, you just don't get it. I, have a degree, working on a master's degree. This would kill my parents, number 1. And number 2, this cannot provide me with the type of income that I need to sustain my lifestyle, my parents, the whole 9 yards. And she looked at me and she said, you are speaking out of complete ignorance. She said, if you are willing to sit down with me and my director and let us go over the company facts, then you can give me your answer. But until then, can you keep your opinion until you have the facts? And of course, being a smart man, not wanting to argue with a beautiful woman, I made the decision that yes, I would do that. So I sat down with my senior today and my recruiter, and they went over the facts and the figures and showed me the Applause magazine and went over the marketing plan, and bottom line said, this is what it is, and you know what, there's no guarantees, this isn't a get-rich-quick scheme, but what I can tell you is that if you can follow a recipe, you can have anything you want in this company. So with that being said, I looked at them both and I said, I have a 3-month furlough that I'm on. This has to work in a 3-month period. If it doesn't, everything that I've purchased will go back to Mary Kay. We will never have this discussion again. And we all three agreed. Now, one thing I will say I am, and that is I have the ability to be focused, I am very disciplined, I am very goal-oriented, and I have a lot of tenacity, and I am very persistent. And with those components, and having a why bigger than life, which was to not put my parents into a nursing home and not go back to a job that I no longer felt comfortable doing, I had to make this work. You know, guys, there comes a time, I think, in a lot of our lives where you may not have experienced this, but I know I did personally, where you take the white flag and you just kind of surrender. You surrender to God, you just surrender to everything, because it's just like you're at the bottom of the bottom. And so for me, that's kind of where I felt I was. And at that point, I had made a 3-month commitment that I was going to prove them right, that I could do this. And I was going to make my parents proud by upholding a promise that I had promised them many years ago. So with that being said, I had made the commitment and decided to pull that pink box out of the spare bedroom closet, and I booked my first 5 classes. Was I scared of what other people thought? Absolutely. Was I scared of not knowing anything about makeup? Absolutely. But the why of staying home and caring for my parents superseded any of that. So I did. I got on the phone and I booked my first 5 classes with friends and family. And from that, I continued to book, because one of the things that I knew is that when I walked out of that class, if I did not have a minimum of 1 booking, I was going to be out of business just as quick as I went into business. And to me, this was not an option. I had to make this work. So within 3 months, within 2 months and 18 days of making that decision, I became a sales director and earned my first car. 6 months after that, had earned my second career car. And then 22 months after that, my first Cadillac, and it's been, great, in terms of, earning potential. My first complete year working this business full-time, I had, between my sales and commissions, had made over 6 figures. Now, is it hard being a man in this business? No, it's not hard. I actually think that we have the upper hand because of the fact that we are so few and far between. When you walk into a woman's home, and they see a male beauty consultant, I think that's just unique in itself. And, why do women get dressed and wear makeup every single day? Hopefully, I would hope to make themselves feel better, but it is truly to make themselves more attractive to men. And so when a man gives a sincere compliment to a woman, I believe that it's taken much more genuine than maybe when coming from a female. So that really is my journey into Mary Kay. So at that point of becoming a sales director in 2 months and 18 days, I continued on to grow my unit and to have an offspring director and to do quota sales and quota sharing year in and year out, because I knew that by doing that, that would put me in front of the people that I needed to build a future national area. Well, then in 2005, I had some negative things happen to my business, which is something that's really not that important to talk about at this point, but I decided to take a 5-year hiatus. And that 5-year hiatus, basically, I just maintained, because I had to fix the 7 inches between my ears. Well, with God's divine intervention and me being the type of person that is a never give up type of person, I searched for help, and I was able to find an amazing life coach that was able to help me fix the 7 inches between my ears and learn that anything worth having is worth working for, fighting for. But most of all, I had to learn that what other people think about me, what other people say about me, is none of my business. As long as I know the truth, and I'm happy with who I am and the lifestyle I live, and I'm giving to the people, okay, to help them get, if it's a product, an opportunity, flexibility, or freedom, I know I'm doing the right thing. So with that being said, folks, I just wanted to share that bit of me, because a lot of you have asked, and it's now on record. I hope this will help you understand that anybody, I don't care who you are, male, female, black, white, young, old, whatever, this business opportunity can change their life, because I did. I had a perfect life. My snow globe was beautiful, but then somebody took that snow globe overnight and shook it, and everything that was once perfect was now turned upside down, and I had to make it work. People say you don't have to do anything. Well, that's a matter of opinion, but for me, it was the only way. Now, Mary Kay has given me the choices that I have today to sit here in my backyard on this beautiful Sunday and reflect back. And as I reflect back, I reflect the fact that I was blessed with this business opportunity, and it allowed me to, again, be with mom and dad, care for them while they were sick, take them to their doctor's appointments, and let them live on their terms versus the terms that we or they could afford. And in all honesty, it was going to be a nursing home had this opportunity not been presented into my life, and had I not been open to it. You've heard the old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and I truly believe that, God had hit me upside the head way too many times for me to not acknowledge what was being presented to me. It afforded me the blessing to be at my mom's side when she was, very sick, and then when she passed away, and to be with the Lord. And that was the most gratifying experience of my life, because I knew that I was able to let her live on her terms and let her live her life and die the way she wanted to versus the way it could have been. And the same with my dad. I had the ability to be there for him financially, for both of them as well, and give them the choices that they wanted. And again, I know I'm repeating myself, but really this opportunity, this business, the why that I'm still here is because of, the choices that I was able not only to give them, but myself. Now, we fast forward, 8 years, 9 years since my parents have been gone. My mother's been gone at least. My stepdad died, 3 years ago. And I asked myself, why am I still in Mary Kay? And my why is to perpetuate my mother's legacy. Because, see, my mother was the type of woman that would help anybody and everybody. I can't remember a day of my life, guys, when we did not have a strange woman, as I used to call them, living at our house. And it wasn't until many years later I realized that these strange women were women that were in abusive relationships or had been kicked out of their homes or a number of things. And my parents, my mother especially, brought them into our home, helped them get on their feet, get jobs, supported them financially, and never expected anything back. And I never realized how impactful that was, and how much she helped other people. And I'm telling you, from the time I can remember to the time I left home, there was somebody living here, and they were always her daughters. And I kind of laugh because that's what Mary Kay Ash herself always said. So I wanted to continue on my mother's legacy, but being a man, how could I do that? How could I facilitate in the way that I guess she did? And I did not even realize by coming into Mary Kay that that's really what I was doing. I realized that I was continuing my mother's legacy very recently, within the last 6 months, by having a conversation with a friend and expressing to her that my life's legacy is to be able to continue what my mother had started so many years ago. And she looked at me and she said, "Jim, what do you think you're doing in Mary Kay?" Because a pink light bulb had gone off, and I thought, you know what, you're absolutely right. I just didn't see it, because sometimes when you're so close, you don't really realize what you're doing. So my life's vision is to carry on her legacy to help other women, not by allowing them to live in my home or maybe help them out on a monetary level, but to build the women to be able to sustain themselves and make their lives a better place, not only for themselves, but for their children, for their grandchildren, and for them to create their own legacy. So that is my why, that is my vision, and that is the legacy that I want to continue for her. When all is said and done, my prayer is that when I leave this earth, that I'm remembered for only one thing. And that's not how much money I had in the bank, and it's not that I was a successful man in Mary Kay, and that I drove a pink Cadillac. I want to be remembered for the lives that I was able to help change. And that's all I ask, and that's all I want. So I hope these words inspire you, help you understand why I have chosen to stay in Mary Kay, and why I continue to move forward, and why I choose to make this video for you. Because I know that if I can be successful as a man at 41 years old, that there isn't a woman out there, regardless of your circumstances, that cannot do the same thing. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap this video, and I hope you enjoy it. I'd love to get your feedback, and again, I apologize to those of you that I could not contact back via email or telephone, but just understand that I am trying to build a national area, and it's really important to me that I stay focused right now in doing so. So please don't feel for a moment that I'm trying to not be go-give, but I can only do so much with the time that I'm allotted. So thanks for listening, guys, and may you have an amazing, amazing 50th year, and I look forward to meeting all of you and watching those of you that want to be directors debut on the seminar stage and go on to build national areas, because that's what we need. We need more leaders that care, and more leaders that truly, truly want what's best for somebody else. So when you take the dollar signs out of your eyes, guys, everything else